The Salon Employers Association is a group of people and a group of salon owners coming together really to fight for the future of our industry. That's the way I see it. And I see we are a really, really proud industry that is changing a lot. So in terms of the state of the industry right now, I feel that actually we're in one of the most challenging times we've had, personally. And I feel that all the pride, passion and creativity is being sucked out of our industry. That's my take on it. I don't know how you guys feel about that. So Stephen, you've always talked about where the industry was. So you've been in the industry how long?
Too long. No, I've been in the industry about 40 years. And, you know, talking to Barry earlier in the green room, it concerns me. British hairdressing has always been perceived as the very best globally. And I'm really concerned and quite passionate about the fact that we're going to lose our #1 status.
You know, I echo every word you've just said, and I think that our industry is amazing, and, you know, I'm truly passionate about our industry, but it is in a state of flux, for sure, and it is all over the place. And I think, you know, I've been in Leicester on the high street, and I know we're going to stay there on the high street. We're going to remain there, others closing, but, you know, we're focused and dedicated to our team. We give our team so much in terms of education and development. We deliver quality and that experience for our clients. And fundamentally, that's what my salon is about, my salon group is about, and delivering the very best for team, clients. And we just want an even playing field right now, and we are swimming upstream.
I think the interesting thing about you saying it even playing field for me is actually we just want to know where we stand. Yes. No one knows what the rules are. No one knows where we stand. No one knows with government what support we're going to get versus other industries. And I think we just want to know where we stand, because then we've got an opportunity to build that platform. I don't know how you found it.
So, 19 years in the industry, well, not in the industry, I've been a lot longer, than 19 years owning my own salon. I've watched a dramatic change in the last 3 years, and we are seeing the rise of the freelance hairdresser, and I'm not opposed to that. You know, I prefer to employ, so all my team are employed, but I do feel we're on unfair ground. You know, we're paying the correct taxes, we're paying everything right, and how do we make this playing field fair? How do we, you know, I was just saying in the green room earlier, it's the first time ever I have no apprentices. I've got one graduate stylist that we're training, you know, finishing the training off. So, and the reason I'm doing that is because it's an fair playing field, and the money we're paying out, we just can't sustain having apprentices and having everything else at the moment. So how do we change this? And I think we need to pull together with everybody in the industry, not just salon owners, but freelance workers, product companies. We all need to be together on this.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a shame when you've got to make those choices. You know, people feel forced. And I think one of the things that I have heard a lot back from people is we're getting penalised for doing the right thing. And I think that's really genuinely how a lot of salon owners feel, that we're penalised for doing the right thing. We actually want to pay our staff more. We want to look after people, but actually being the most taxed business model on the high street means that's a really difficult thing to do.
I have a really strong opinion on that at the moment, and I was just talking about that earlier as well. So I come under Seven Dials umbrella, and they've got a PR for the area because the footfall is 40% down, and that's the West End of London. So one thing they wanted me to do was offer 10% discount. And I said, I can't offer 10% discount because we are selling to one. We're selling our skill to one other person. You can make as many rings as you like, and you can sell all of those, but you're paying the same tax. Yeah. So, you know, we need to get this a lot fairer. It needs to work a lot better for the one-on-one, which is what we are.
It's badly misunderstood within government how our industry functions. The fact that you add value to a pair of scissors through someone's labour means you're paying all of the tax on their skill, and then you're paying VAT on top of that. We talked about it earlier, Barry. You were asking how much in the pound goes out in tax. And we reckon it's at least 35 pence in every pound. Now, tell me another business anywhere on the high street that pays that, and I'll just drop the campaign. You
know, I have a problem with, you know, coming back from the pandemic, of course, you know, there was already some sort of shift and movement towards self-employed. Now, I have no issue with self-employed because everybody coming together in the industry, but we've all got to contribute to the economy, and we've got to pay our taxes, and it's got to be a fair playing field, as I said. But this shift seems really unfair because people are sitting under that level of 80k
85.
VAT, and that's not fair to a business.
It actually stifles growth. This is the other thing I've talked about constantly. It means that what we're creating is hundreds and thousands of micro businesses. We're not creating what was great about anything. It stops you actually wanting to build your business and grow. And I think that anti-competitive edge is something that's...
And where's the quality in the training? And, we take lots of apprentices on when we can get them. And we want to continue to do that. And, there's going to be a lack of...
I think that the reason Salon Employees Association is so important is the only people that are going to make this happen are us.
Salon.
I really don't think anyone else is going to do it for us. And where I have great respect and admiration for the Irish hairdressers in Southern Ireland is, they were standing outside government with placards and making them really realise that this is a special industry that needs special needs. And as such, they reduced VAT in Southern Ireland to 9%, Toby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when they did so...
Halved it, basically.
When they did so, employment in the sector grew by 23%. So can you imagine the impact on our businesses if we just paid VAT at 9%?
I think, too, if you broke it right down, just like I said, the one-on-one. So the self-employed or the freelance hairdresser, they're not paying tax because they're under the 85,000. If you have a look at all your businesses, I mean, the West End and some bigger salons, it's different, but who's hitting 85,000 a year?
Not very many.
No. So why are they paying 20% tax on what they're earning? And I think that's a simple question.
I think the other thing that we tried to bring up is that you can have two businesses next to each other turning over 600,000. The one that's VAT registered is paying 100,000 in VAT, so they've got £500,000 income. The one that chooses a different model is paying zero VAT. Mm-hmm. So £100,000 more in tax just in that very small number. And most salons are trading at or below that level. So you can just see how unfair the playing field is.
And that's pretty much the worst case scenario, is that salons just become landlords and each hairdresser just becomes a concession renter chair under the VAT
no training,
threshold.
No skills, no bringing through the next generation.
Correct, and they have no reason or commercial reason to employ apprentices. So...
Well, they're priced out of being able to
that's
employ
what you're
apprentices.
saying for yourself.
I'm priced out,
Yeah, that's sad.
It is
you
sad.
want to give your skills to the next generation, and that's now impossible.
And I think you're right. It's sucking the life out of the creative aspect to our industry, isn't it?
That's what
and
makes this industry so great. I mean, I'm not a hairdresser, never been one, and so for me it's difficult to say that. But what I can say is that I'm driven by that passion. I see people who have come from backgrounds that are much more challenging, who have transformed their lives and changed things. And that's what I'm really proud about. But we don't seem to care about that anymore. It seems to be just about the numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that's tragic.
I think business owners don't have the time to care. I took time out recently to take my team. I hadn't worked on Fashion Week for a couple of years, a long time actually, because it was just too consuming. But that's where you've got to be creative. That's where you've got to have fun.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision this year to take time out to actually do it. And yes, it cost me money to do it, to take the team out, to actually get involved. But to go back into the salon now, they've got ideas, they're more creative, they're coming to me. And I'd forgotten and been consumed by just making the numbers work for a long time.
I think what you're saying there, and I think what I've noticed, is that people are now making all their decisions through fear. And that's just the worst place to be. They're making decisions through fear, so they're making them, I can't afford it, I can't do this, I can't do that. And that's a really brave decision. I'm going to go out there and do that because that pays off in the long run. It's what... why would a young person come into our industry if they're going to train in college? They're not going to have the buzz of salons. They're not going to have all those things. It's just frustrating. So what would following the Irish tax system, reducing VAT to 10% do for our industry? I think it would bring back that sense of fairness. It would bring back everybody understanding exactly where they stood. And what it would do is it would mean that actually a traditionally relatively low paid sector, we could afford to pay people what they're worth. And that is one of the most important things for me. Hairdressers, I promise you, any MP, any doctor, anybody in the world doesn't know what it's like to stand behind that chair. And what I see is people performing magic every day. They don't just cut hair, they make people feel amazing. They provide mental health care. I know it sounds crazy, but for me, that's what I really genuinely, honestly see. And those people are worth more than minimum wage. They're worth 10 times, really. And I think that's a big part of it for me. I want to be able to afford to pay people what I think they're worth and more.
And of course, we've all put our prices up, haven't we? But, you know, you can only put your prices up so far, can't you? You know, you can't sustain. You can take some of the, you know, the pain and the increases, but now we've got to, you know, go back to the 35 pence in the pound. I mean, that's really got me thinking about, well, what do we do? Do we put our prices up again? We can't do that. Yeah. We're in a place now where we've got to look towards the VAT. That would be, for me, a complete game changer, the 10%.
And the consumer doesn't understand the difference between you and the salon next door who's not paying VAT. They don't understand that difference.
Right.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, VAT is an input and output tax. Doesn't necessarily work. You know, Corinne, your point was very good. We're one-on-one. We can only sell one haircut at a time. But that's what we're selling. We're selling people's time, isn't it, really? You know, the only bit of VAT you can claim back is maybe on the shampoo you use at the back bar, but that's pence.
And the colour. Yeah, for you, it was interesting. If you had that fairness and parity, would you, or that tax system, would you re-employ?
Definitely. I mean, at the moment, my business model, I'm working, you know, just to survive. And if you have a look in my area, there is salon after salon and big names. My old employer, you know, they're closing. Yeah. And they're closing because they can't sustain, you know, people don't want to pay more for their hair. It's, you know, the boom time of the 90s of throwing cash around is gone. People are more savvy, they're a lot more careful. You know, and I agree, you know, 20% on the products we sell and things like that, but the service of a stylist should not be 20%.
No, they're paying enough tax.
It's, you know, and then they're paying tax again and again and again. When you know, you break it down, I'm sure we could find more than 35 pence in there. I
said an absolute minimum.
Yeah.
The only other thing for me is, I think as salon owners and managers, directors, we need to change the perception of employment. I think there's a perception in the industry that employment means 5 days a week, 40 hours. It doesn't have to. You can still work as flexibly if you've got someone who's sympathetic and understanding to what your needs are. And again, you know, if you're considering going self-employed, think about it. You get absolutely no holiday pay.
That's worth 13% on top of your salary and pensions.
If you're thinking of starting a family, you get absolutely no statutory maternity pay. You get no other benefits. You get no auto-enrollment pension contributions. So, you know, sometimes some of my team will say, yeah, but my mate down the road is getting 50% self-employed. And when you sit down and actually educate them, yeah, they are getting 50% self-employed, but that's gross. So from that, they've got to pay their tax. And when they go on holiday, they don't earn a bean and they don't get any sick pay. So, you know, I think we've got to do a better job of educating hairdressers that self-employment is not all it's cracked up to be.
I have to say, I'm quite delighted with 3 of my stylists that have been with me a really long time, and we had this discussion, a really frank discussion about self-employed and being employed, and all 3 of them turned around and said, well, I want my pension, I want my holidays paid. They understood it. So I think if hairdressers could understand that a little bit more, and everyone was paying equal tax, then we could move forward.
I think in terms of the level playing field and the tax and all the rest of it, the other thing that's not understood is that when you run your own business, you pay the tax 2 years down the line. So people are finding they've gone out and done a different business model, and suddenly they're hit with a 20 grand tax where they go, where did that come from? And that's another big shock. So for me, I just think we've got a job to educate everyone about what's fair and about what's right and so on. I don't want to beat on any particular thing, but I really, really care about making sure that we provide for that next generation. For me, parity is about doing that. Go on.
I can just foresee a massive skills gap in the next 5 to 7 years, a huge skills gap. Unless PAYE salons are protected, and the only way I think they can be protected is paying a less VAT, you know, and have a smaller burden of employment costs. There won't be any apprentices, there won't be any future hairdressers, the industry won't be future-proofed, and it will just be chair renters, and the quality will drop enormously, and probably more people start doing and colouring their hair at home. That's the Armageddon that we seem to be sailing to.
That is what we're up against, isn't it? I think you've hit the nail on the head. People at home doing hairdressing and charging less than we are in the salons. That's what we're up against. So I think we've got to pay our people more money. we've got to charge higher prices, and we've just got to do the right thing. As an industry, we need to come together and be singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, I kind of see that how I visualize it a little bit. People pay to become doctors, nurses, lawyers. They have to go to university. They come out with huge debt. We pay our apprentices to learn. So, the wage is different. And so for them to go and have to spend money to learn, to go through a college, spend all their own money, are they going to do that? Or would they not just go to university and do something else? So how are we going to attract people into the industry if we're not paying for them? Or we have to give them these huge salaries that anyone else that goes to college gets?
I think, look, it's absolutely vital. We've already talked about things. I think we miss some of the softer stuff. You take people who are disadvantaged from disadvantaged homes, you take 20 a year, I think, don't you? Something like that, MVQ. You take people from really difficult backgrounds who want to come from something, who haven't gone through the schools and education system, who haven't been given an opportunity, and you give them a career that can pay them really, really well. And yet that will be completely gone because our industry is disrespected, it's not grown, it's not whatever. You use PAYE salons and apprenticeships, you lose a generation of people that could be brilliant. And that's what scares the shit out of me. I shouldn't have sworn, but anyway.
I think we've already started to lose that generation already.
We have, absolutely. And the other problem is when there's no fat in the game. What this industry used to have the most fun anywhere. We were all having a great time together. We were having great parties. We were getting together. People were excited and to be part of it. And that seems to be just waning. It seems to be about, let's sell a shampoo online because it will make so-and-so more money. There's nothing left. There's no skin in the game left. It's all about profit and that tiny bit. And people don't matter anymore. And that's what scares me. And the other thing that I think is if you lose hairdressers on the high street, I think the other thing that really worries me is you lose a massive support network.
Yeah.
A massive support network for customers who are coming in, guests, clients, whatever you call them, coming in and actually getting real support. And I think the last thing that we lose, and I think we're going down this route whether we like it or not, and I think rates is another thing we're going to have to worry about, but salons bring millions of people into town centres every day. And these are all soft things that no one's thinking about. We need a serious report of what our industry brings in, because I'm really proud of it. I could go and be in property, I could be in a million different things, but I'm proud of this and I care about it, and it makes me really, really, really angry that we're just letting it go. Sorry about that. That was quite.
We are the heartbeat of the community, of the high street, and I think that's a really good point. Clients coming in there. They're part of
that's a huge point. I mean, hairdressing salons tend to be anchor tenants. I know through our own sites, in our George Street flagship, we have over 100 clients a day who will visit the other local businesses, and we mustn't forget our value to the high street at all. Yeah. Absolutely.
To the shops, they'll
coffee shop,
I'm just going to nip in
they'll
there.
go to that jeweller's who's offering 10% off.
Exactly. I send them round there.
The sex shop down the road.
Come on now, Toby, keep it me. Part of the salon as well, not just the area, but the community within the salon, I think gets a little bit lost as well. The moment everybody's just focusing on surviving, but a salon used to be a place where you come in and the clients would interact with each other, we'd interact with each other, and it's all being diluted, and we really need to take action.
Taking the life out of it.
Across society, though, haven't we all become way more selfish? It's like all the big organisations now, they do gig economy. They try not to pay people benefits. They try Ubers and whoever. And there are others, but delivery companies, all these people making gig economy, taking that benefits, taking that tax away, and making it all about profit. Once you've got that, every bit of excitement is gone. What's the point?
It's isolating as well. It's isolating for everybody, I think.
I think we can do this. I really do. Anyway.
For me, I've worked with top manufacturers for many years, big colour houses, and suddenly that I want to work with a company who is aligned with my values and my principles, and who support the hairdresser, support the industry, and not take away from it. And that was a big deal for me, because I had to make a big decision. It cost me a lot of money. I was in bed with a big company, and it was time to do the right thing for me. And I think it's time for the manufacturers to make a decision and to support our industry, because like we've discussed today, we're going to lose it otherwise. It's so important, Toby.
Thank you. Thanks for passing that baton on to me.
No worries.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think...
So, I mean, that was very eloquently put. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get why you've done it.
And before Toby, listen, manufacturers are in a very, very difficult position. They have to answer to their shareholders, to their boards. They need a return on investment, but they need to respect where all the NPD comes from, which is invariably from salons, and they need to give us a point of difference in products and services that are exclusive to salons.
Yes, and they are out there, because I found them, and I pride myself, and I work with a company now who totally support the hairdressing industry and the hairdresser, and for me that's where it is right now. I blew my business up just before COVID, so it wasn't really a good time to make that decision, but I did, and I put my money where my mouth is, and we've come out the other end, but now we're fighting for this cause.
Green, come on.
Well, I made a decision a very long time ago that I needed to work with ethical companies, companies that were supporting hairdressers. 17 years ago, I made that decision. I'm not opposed to the bigger brands. I worked with them in my younger years, but they really need to stop forcing us into corners. They don't have the hairdresser's best interests at heart. They're not providing the training. They're just all about their bottom line profit, and that is not helping us. They pretend to care, but they don't, and I want them to really care. Hence why I'm working with the companies that I work with, because I get more value from them being smaller, independent, and caring about not just the community but the planet as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, ultimately you want your manufacturer to be your partner, don't you? And to work towards a common goal.
Not locking you in monetary wise.
And unfortunately so many of them are conflicted.
I think the biggest challenge is, like you've said, they've got shareholders to look out for. But I think when you take a short-term profit view, the long-term is a dangerous road. And for me, big manufacturers in general, I'm not singling anyone out, but I think they've just gone online and followed that and actually not remembered who made their products professional in the first place. Salon being recommended by stylists, who are the people that made those brands and built them up, and then suddenly going, we're going to sell much, much cheaper online. What does that say to those individual stylists? When the stylist can buy the product that I've got cheaper online than they can from me direct, then that means you've lost all faith. And for me personally, that means that retailer's gone from, I'm not going to say the numbers, but it's gone to a quarter of the size that it was. And therefore, I think as an industry, we need some quick action on who is your customer, who are you going to support, and where's that going to be? Just so we all know where we stand. It's that level playing field thing again. It's about saying, do you care about this industry? Which part of it do you care about? And who is your customer? And I think that's where we are. For me, what I'd really, really like is all the manufacturers to come together in the same way that we are and fund a report, which we've already commissioned from the CBI, that talks about the state of our industry. So for once and for all, government can do that. Rather than just listening to my figures, which I believe are right, someone that's actually gone out and done the research and funded that CBI report. If 5 industry organisations came together, it would be peanuts for them to create that report, and we'd all know where we stood, and government would know who we are, what we add, and we can't afford that 50 grand, but those manufacturers can, and I'd like them to support that.
So come on, manufacturers, get your checkbooks out.
Oh, they're happy to do that if you sign on the dotted line.
I'm not allowed to say that, Barry.
I think,
cut that out. I know.
I think, in kind of an ideal business model, retail would probably represent 10% of your business, which is a real struggle now, because my team...
2%.
2%. Ours is slightly higher than that, but hairdressers will say, okay, if I get the value of the first sale, I'm not going to get the value of the repeat purchase because the client will just buy it online.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So that's
There's
the
nothing
biggest-
worse than sitting there and recommending something, and then they go straight while you're doing their hair,
Yeah.
and they're looking to see where they can get it cheaper.
I think what you said though is to find value propositions where it can only be done in salon. For me, refillables is a really simple one. It's sustainable. It's commercially makes sense, and it gets people back into salons.
Clients love it. We do it. They love it.
Yeah, well, there you go.